Okay, so here we are, a gathering of women. Very excited about, yay! Yeah, so what are we on? I'm just checking that I don't burn my house down. I've got a lot of oil burning in the background. Yes, so we all met. I should say, I always jump in without introducing myself. I'm a writer, theatre maker, witch and healer. So yes, I have a big, huge passion for witch history from a healer's perspective, and that's kind of my thing. And I've been writing about it in my play Awaken for about 5 years, and that journey has been my own awakening. And I'm joined with Ellie, who's also part of the play, performing in it, co-producing it with me and helping make the magic happen, and Juliana, who came along and met us alongside coming to watch the play at Beacon Arts Centre, and is doing some amazing things which I'll let you talk about. But rather, I stumbled upon you for the first time when Beacon Arts sent me an article that you'd put through to the local paper, and I remember reading it and going, oh, this woman has the same passion I do. I just read it and thought, she just loves it and just wants to make sure that she raises this same awareness. And I remember going, oh, must make sure she's there, must make sure we meet her. And then me and Ellie realised that we both contacted you. Like, she really needs to be there.
Well, you both knew that you had contacted me. I didn't know you had kind of individually contacted me.
Yeah. Nelly was like,
no such thing as a coincidence.
Yeah, no,
drawn
like,
to you. We were drawn to you.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, and also what drew you into your own journey with yeah, the cause and witches and misaccused witches as well.
Yes. Yeah, well, Juliana from, as you know, the west coast of Scotland, from Greenock, Inverclyde. Hairdresser come activist, I suppose some people would say, kind of unexpectedly, but it's just the passion that, you know, you find yourself in, you know, is just that sometimes it takes you by surprise, you know, how passionate you can be. And when you're talking to somebody and you're thinking, I better wind myself in a bit, you know, it's like kind of, you know, you just hope everybody else has got the same enthusiasm as you have yourself. So I've always kind of been interested in, I wouldn't call them, well, just now they would call them modern day witchy things, you know, things going on, but it's just something that I've always kind of personally have been around. You know, my mum just, I would say just a kind of gift, I suppose, but people might call it the old ways that have kind of been passed down from my gran to my mum to, you know, that have always been around. But and that was just me. That's just me. That's just the way I am. You know, I found out about witches in Scotland when I lived in Paisley. I'd never heard of it. I think I saw it in a local newspaper, and it was about the Bargarin witches, which are actually, Bargarin is actually an area in Erskine, but back then Paisley was the judicial centre of Renfrewshire. So I'd heard about this, the Bargarin witches, and heard about them, ironically, the monument for, or the place marker of where the ashes are, is actually in the middle of a junction on the main road. So it's not exactly easy to get to. And I thought, witches in Paisley? Witches in Scotland? You know, and I just started to kind of look into it more. And I joined, I was on some Facebook pages and things, and I heard about a group called Fife Witches Remembered. And I just thought, oh, this is my, you know, this is what I think and what I believe. And, you know, they seemed as keen on, you know, what was going on as I was. So, which later became Remembering the Accused Witches of Scotland. Now, I had seen, it was back in 2019, I think it was, when they were just building up to Curus, which is over in Fife. And that's where there was a lot of trials over there in Fife, you know, although they were all over Scotland, every town, you know, every town, village was affected in some way. So I'm sure that we're all related to somebody that was accused at some point or another. Got in touch, I'd seen them on that they were having their conference, the unveiling of the plaques, the Fife Witches Trail. And I was planning to go to it, but being a hairdresser, I worked on Saturday, so that didn't work. So I kind of followed the page and just was watching what they were doing and stuff. And then I saw, I'm sure it was on that, on the, you know, in Fife Witches Remembered, that I saw about the plaque on Edinburgh Esplanade. You know, and it's, I couldn't believe it when I seen it. I actually had to use Google Maps to find it. It's so small, it's less than the size of an A4 piece of paper. And that was to represent 4,000 plus people who were accused throughout Scotland. And I just thought, wow, surely this isn't, you know, this doesn't speak for them all. So I started looking into it, and that's when I got in touch with Sheila. And she invited me along to a Zoom meeting, which we'd just gone into, we were just going into lockdown. So, and the rest, is, to be honest, is history. She invited me onto the committee and everything, and now I'm in part of the merchandise team, I'm part of the events team, I'm part of obviously the steering group, and just as and when we can help. As myself and as a girl Lorna in a group, we're on the West Coast, but most of the other group are on the East Coast. However, we did have one of the girls who was living in Amsterdam, and she was thank goodness for Zoom, because during lockdown we were all able to communicate. And you know, but Roz we have just recently, which is, I know you are very much aware of, we've been working very, very closely with the Church of Scotland. You know, we like to keep things not so much low key, but we like to make sure things are correct and stuff before we put everything out there. We don't want to get people's hopes up kind of prematurely. So we've been working on a few, you know, and thankfully, much to a lot of people's surprise, some probably our own as well, the Church of Scotland unequivocally apologised for historic wrongs. Amazing. Which is brilliant. No pun intended. It's monumental.
It is monumental, yeah.
You know, because you know, people say about the government and stuff like that. And, yeah, of course, everything, every wee step helps. But for the church, who, in a lot of people's eyes, they were the, you know, they were the big bad guys. But back then, they thought they were doing the right thing. You know, they not the right thing, but they believed what was they were doing was as, you know. And if your king and your government are telling you, your king and your church are telling you that the devil's real, you know, who's going to argue? Because people couldn't, as we know, folk couldn't defend each other, because they would automatically be accused. You know, if somebody says, Ellie, do you think Juliana's a witch? You would have to say yes, because if you said no, they would say, well, you know, why are you kind of, you know, so you know, it must have been a terrifying time. And we're just, the next big, you know, we've got the apology, which I'm so grateful for. You know, it was, they actually got a round of applause when they said without any hesitation. And I was crying, like some of the other group were crying. It was just like, oh my goodness, we got it.
Yeah,
you know, it's incredible, because it's, you know, I mean, it's what, less than 4 years really that you've been working together. But I think, and this is the thing, it's like I really get the not just the impression, but the sense that Roz work with people, so that, you know, it's not about working against or kind of demanding or kind of, you know, because it's that kind of that sees.
I think the attitude, you know, we are kind of pretty much all encompassing, and we do have a lot of groups that we're working with, and we've got people coming to us and asking us for advice on research, or asking us what's the best way, or maybe they're doing something in their local area that they're saying, how would you, you know, can you help or can you advise? Excuse me. So we do work with, you know, we do have a really, really good kind of backward and forward communication with followers in the group, other groups, you know.
And it's such,
we're all looking for the same aim, you know.
And there's such a momentum, isn't there, at the moment?
Yeah.
I mean, there is such a zeitgeist in Scotland in particular.
Yep.
And if anybody has to ask, you know, the question of, well, why is this relevant now?
Yeah.
You only need to look at what's happened today in America with the Roe versus Wade.
Yeah, I know.
And it's terrifying, and that is about silencing women.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of work to do. This is you know, all of us, and I think as I just heard one woman say, you know, it's not about agonizing. It's, you know, we've got to take action, you know. Yeah.
And I think because I feel quite passionately about naming and honouring our past, you know, I think that's a thing I always, when I started out writing, I was like, for me personally, I don't see it happening enough in London where I live. And I'm like, I want those cunning woman that's named in my play, Joan Peterson, she's real, you know, and a lot of, you know, I think a lot of awareness needs to happen, particularly I feel because of being a healer and working in that industry and knowing the damage that it's done, the laws that it's done to us. My family members were mediums. The Fraudulent Medium Act was just an extension of the Witchcraft Act. So I think there's so much damage to be rectified that's still in our culture today. But I was particularly excited when you said about the church, because the church feels very monumental. It feels like a really big step forward because of the beliefs that were in the church and still are. And I think that's amazing. And I also know that we've connected a little bit with naming women and witches in the area, Marie Mont. And I did, when I came to Beacon Arts to take the play up there, I had this kind of dream and ambition to make sure everywhere the play went and goes going forward, the people in the area are named, because I don't think we often know enough about I didn't know Joan Peterson until I looked into this, a cunning woman in London. So, you know, it's not that available. You really have to search for it. And coming to Beacon Arts, when I was like, there's how many? I interviewed a few people on the air and I was like, there's that many killed in this area? I didn't know any of that. And it just, I mean, Marie Lamont's more of a famous name, but it's shocking. But yeah, I know you feel quite akin to.
Yeah, I do. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. We mean, what we think it's Marie because it's the, you know, I think it was a Gaelic version, but in some records it's Mary, some it's Marie. You know, Lamont, Lomond. It's just, you know, the various, obviously varying ways of spelling it. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I've been looking into her. One of my cats, I told you they'd be here. What do you call it? I don't know if it's because she's local, but I really do seem to have an affinity with her. I don't know if it's because I know she was only 18 when it happened. But when,
that was a great
what a bomb in the cat. I got it, the other one's about he'll appear at some point as well. I don't know if it's because she's local. You know, when I heard that it was, you know, Invercargill, which is the next village that's when there was. That was the second highest place in Scotland for witch accusations per, and I thought there was something like 40, 46 or something, I think I'd heard. And when I spoke to Lorraine, that, you know, Lorraine Quinn, she's the archivist in a local museum, and she says to me, try 94. I thought, geez, you know, so it's pretty much doubled. Well, it has doubled, or just under, from what I'd like to believe. But it's just, you know, Invercargill is a scenic, lovely wee village, and, you know, just a wee seaside place, and you just think, geez, but it's like you get down that rabbit hole, you start looking at Mary, Marie, and then you hear about all these other ones, and you think, and then that takes you to Guru, and then you hear about the Bad and you think, geez, and the amount of folk, me being a hairdresser, I get paid to talk to people. You know, that's how I'm I'm as happy as Larry. And it's crazy because I can, you know, who you can talk to about these kind of things. You know who's quite close mind. So there still is a lot of suspicion, superstition, you know, regarding these, and especially sometimes where religion's concerned, folk don't want to hear it, but you know, you do still get that kind of skepticism where folk are like, you know, as you say, why now? Because there's some of the people, you know, like Marie Lamont, her bloodline was wiped out. You know, she wasn't there to have kids. She, you know, some of the women, and obviously we know it was men and children as well, who were hunted because they were hunted. They maybe had like sisters who had kids and stuff, so there obviously is a lineage with some of the families, not all of them. And they're still living, you know, they're still around. So they're still people that are still under the stigma of having a relation. You know, now a lot of people, you know, obviously a lot of people, oh, that's great, you know, I've got a family member, but there's still a lot of judgment, you know, from
and it's the fact that it is happening in other parts of the world, isn't it? And like what's happened in America today, it's kind of like if other people in other countries can see what's happening in Scotland. And the momentum and the formal apologies and the pardons and the kind of, you know, this is religion and this is the government and this is, you know, it's you know, the absolutely church, vital.
We're hoping that because the church have kind of set a precedence, because we were told, oh, you'll never get an apology off them. I remember I says to you that day on the stairs, we're working with the church, we're hoping to hear, and it was only a matter of weeks after. I'm sure that it was that we got, you know, they apologised, and you know, we're not blaming the church. Just, you know, we're not putting any blame on, you know, they're apologising for past wrongs. It wasn't them. It was, you know, and thankfully, folks' minds have, you know, opinions have changed and stuff like that, and you know, thankfully we're a lot more free thinking than they were allowed to be back then. So, but it's just really nice. Oh, listen, I know. It's just really nice that they've acknowledged, and just when, you know, when I watched, because you know I watched the play again the other night, and it was on a big screen. It looked fantastic on a big screen.
I want to do that.
It was like a 52-inch screen. I think I've got. It was like I'm sitting there with my cup of tea and my juice and sitting watching it. It was tremendous, and it was even more poignant when you named. See, when I was watching it at the Beacon and you named Marie Lamont, that was me. I already was kind of filling up, and I wanted to stand up and cheer when you were saying about, you know, this is like female Holocaust and stuff. And I was like, I had to restrain myself, but as soon as you mentioned it, I was gone. It was just like somebody pushing a button, and I was. So when I watched it the other night, knowing that the church had apologised, I started again, and I was like, oh, Maria.
This is the thing, isn't it? It's the human stories. It's the human behind kind of the names and the ministers and those of the Kirk, and you know, it's actually making them human again and understandable.
And it's when you say that name that it just hits you right. You know, they were a person, they were somebody's sister, somebody's brother, somebody's dad, somebody's auntie, you know, whatever, somebody's mum. Some of the women that were pregnant, you know, they waited until they gave birth and then they executed them.
But brutal killings and brutal tortures, you know, into it. It wasn't just, you know, it was brutal, and you know, bring forward and you know, awakens us this a lot, but and why I call it the female Holocaust, because it was very much directed against women in their power, women in positions, women that were not in their power, you know, disempowered on the outsides of society, all of those different things in different groups, or just women that were turned against women. And it's such a dangerous, why I think it's personally so relevant today is it's such a divide and conquer culture, and at that time it was easier to do it women because of the patriarchal systems, and I don't believe that's gone away. I think the Me Too movement made great steps, and then COVID happened, and it's still, the movement needs to come into play because, you know, it's not really redeemed itself. But however cultures are weakened by dividing people against each other through fear, and society's just coming apart and saying somebody's other, you know, I think it's prevalent today. We just do it in different ways, and that was through the witch craze back then and against women. And I remember finding out in Europe that there was only 3 women left in one town.
Jesus.
And I was like, 3 women left, that's it. I mean, that's not really acknowledged that many places. And that's why I really stood strong to say it was the female Holocaust, because it was wiping out women left, right, and centre. And if it wasn't killing them or torturing them, it was silencing them, because
punishing them,
scared punishment. So you know, I think that that's what's so beautiful about so many women speaking out and gathering now, going no.
And this is the thing, I think, isn't it? It's kind of with the amazing Roars campaign and Witches of Scotland, and you know, but it's about kind of working together, isn't it? And
actually, that's the way it should be, you know, because we're, as I say, it's we are as we know, it affected folk a lot more than, you know, as Sheila said, Sheila Archer, she says it wasn't swept under the carpet, it was pushed under the carpet. You know, and thankfully,
and therefore it's like as many different ways as we can kind of like get the voices amplified. So like it's campaigns, it's theatre, it's, you know, and it has to be. And I mean, how do you see the campaign, your work with the campaign kind of ongoing, Juliana? Because I mean,
we're in this for the long haul. You know, this isn't a short term thing. You know, we're looking, obviously we're working with the different communities and stuff. We've got the campaign to have the monument, which we want to be, you know, public, because then everybody's a part of making history. You know, it's a very personal thing, you know, be it somebody's just somebody's bought a couple of pens or key rings or something, it's all going towards, you know, somebody's came to hear see any of the exhibitions that we're at or anything, you know. It's people have got it's really stirred up a lot of passion with people.
You know what I'd quite like to see, because in Scotland, as you say, it's like living in the borders. I mean, it's like and reading Mary Craig's book of Border Witch Hunts. You know, I mean, it's like it's all of these villages around me, like every single one, you know, almost without exception. And I mean, I'd like to see a memorial in all of these places. Like,
that's what we would
there
like.
Needs to be, you know, in the village green, in the kind of, you know, there needs to be something that says these are the women. We're going to name these women. And men, but mainly women.
I know.
And have them, you know, because I think it's just this extraordinary thing of realizing that war memorials don't have women's names. And of course, and I grew up thinking, well, no women died in the war then, maybe, you know, and of course that's not true. So many women were out working in all of these countries, and yet they made a decision that they're not going to name the women. So it's kind of, it's about, I want to be able to go to these villages and see it.
Well, that's what we're hoping to, you know, we're that's ideally, you know, that's what we would like, because the interest that we've got from local towns and place, everybody's, you know, it's not just centering on the national memorial. It's we've got people who are interested in acknowledging in their own area. I know for a fact that in Birkip, they want one, you know. I know
that's the great thing, isn't it? Because people, as you're talking to everybody, then people in those certain places are going, I want to take this. I want to take this gauntlet and pick it up and run with it and sort it out.
I think it's just because folk are so shocked to hear that it happened in their own town. You know, I was brought up in the church. You know, I could probably name most of the books of the Bible if, you know, if my memory didn't fail me, kind of thing. But I do know, and I still, you know, when I hear a hymn on the radio, 9 times out of 10 I'll know the words for it. But to find that it was like, you know, the Presbyterian church they were real, you know, they were a real, and it's horrible. It's horrible to know that, you know, these things like this that you looked up to, kind of thing, you know, when you're growing up, everybody went to church, you know, kind of thing. That this happened centuries ago, and you just think, geez, oh, you know, it's and it's Scottish, but you know, we were the best at being bad, and it's horrible that the world can look and say, well, if you want to know how to thing, look to Scotland, and it's like, so, you know, it's like, oh no, but we can't change your history. We can only try and make it that it's brought to the attention that folk know it's not right. You know, we know it still goes on in the world. We can only hope that possibly by the church setting that precedence, that others will follow. You know, it's but that was huge. That was surreal. But no, as I say, and as I says to you, I says to both of you, you know, and I know that you know, I know you quoted me on it, and that's absolutely fine. But again, I've just got to thank you for bringing it forward and letting people know this happened. And you know, it's still, I'm still really kind of quite. I tell people about the play all the time. I was actually talking to one of my clients today, and I said, "You need to go on. You need to look at this." And she couldn't believe it. The numbers for locally. I says, you really need to go. I said, no, we can explain, you know, it's 2 parts. And it's,
and I mean, going
fantastic.
to an event recently of the Calder Witch Hunt event, and listening to Witches of Scotland, but also Roars, also Dr. Nicola King and Mary Craig, and just sitting there, and I know that Cheryl and yourself couldn't be there at that event, but sitting there and listening to everybody speak and actually thinking, Awaken has all of this, has all of this in it, and it's such a gift. But we didn't, you know, we weren't all in contact when Cheryl has been writing this for kind of like 5 years. And it's just really, it seems to kind of, all the threads seem to have kind of come together at the moment. And we're kind of surging forward, and it's really amazing. But everything from the church or the kirk to midwifery to herbs to, you know, all of it, it's just incredible to see that actually this is historical. It's you know, and it's written. It's
you know, it's like, you know, maybe people that you know, you say the midwife, that goes for bit, you know, if something happened, then she get the blame. If somebody made up a herbal brew, somebody took it out, she get the blame. I mean, there's, without naming any brand names, there's multinational companies out there making a fortune from it. And you know, Sheila and I had a conversation one night, and I had a video where I was talking to my cat, and Sheila says, "You do realise that you're hitting all the criteria for being an acute." And I says, I used to say before I knew anything about what, see, if it was the 16th century, I would have been absolutely, I'd have been a goner. And it makes you wonder how many of us, and one of my clients says to me today, thank goodness it's not still like that, because so many people that, you know, like women back then, as Claire Askew, her poems, you know, she said that maybe if they weren't great at their reading or writing or whatever, they had to learn to read the land, they had to learn to read the weather for this, you know, for the crops and things, especially if it was a woman on her own, maybe a widow. You know, it's just things that.
And let me add to that, women that couldn't read or write, to quote the Bible, and if they didn't, they were the devil for stumbling, even though they couldn't read or write, if they hadn't learnt it right. And I'm dyslexic, and I often think when I stumble upon lines, they would have got me for that. They would have got me for that. And I tell many people, and obviously I come from a different background, so I work with a lot of my clients doing past life regressions, and I can't tell you how many people have seen their own lives killed as a witch, you know. And I often think, I even had this conversation today, which is why I love Awakens in the forum, because I often thought, you know, if you speak to any pagan that names themselves a pagan, we all believe in reincarnation. That's our belief system. That paganism's been around since the beginning of time. It's been butchered and killed out and brought back and all of this. But our belief system is that you don't only live once. That's what we stand by. So, you know, I often say, you know, actually saying that that our rights, our memories, that we know that we've been killed throughout the lifetimes, that we come back and that we're souls. is a really important thing to add into the arena of witch conversations. And I think that's, I know for me, it's the thing I feel very strongly about bringing onto the table and bringing in with Awaken, because that is my belief system and many pagans, and we are part of the witch community that's being discussed now. You know, it's part of my heritage. And I think that's something that I bring to the table, because I think, you know, if we're going to talk about witches, bring in the pagans and the witches too. So
yeah, I know a couple of it's a couple that stay up in Paisley, and I know both of them, kind of thing, you know, just through getting, you know, with Roz and everything, and they were run out of their town, they were run out of their house, they were run out of the estate just a couple of years ago by a family down the street who used to say to the other neighbours, don't talk to her, she's a witch. And they would leave glass at their door, and they would leave, you know, they were actually went into premature labour because they were banging our windows at the early hours in the morning. And that only happened a couple of years ago. And you just think, what is wrong with people?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. I think that trauma does stay in the body, and it kind of gets passed, and it gets passed down from generation to generation. And I think, unfortunately, not only that, but also, just that aggression towards, as you said, Cheryl, earlier, otherness, like anybody that's different is still, you know, so this is why, oh my God, you know, most of the people that are saying, why are you bringing this up? It's not relevant. It's like, actually, you saying that, you're probably one of the silencers. You are trying to silence it.
Yeah.
And it's like, so vital.
Yeah.
It's amazing. People say, why now? But as Greg in the group says, people are saying that, you know, but they're the curate. They end up, they get into conversations with you, and they're saying, well, and a lot of them don't know the facts. And when you start telling them, they think, geez, you know, it's like the pricking pin. You know, I actually saw that down in Boscastle just a matter of 2-3 weeks ago. It's 7 inches long. You know, they were putting this thing into their skin, every inch of their body, and you think, how can people, you know?
And unfortunately, like, I mean, humans are really gruesome as well. I mean, I think that's something that it's about, like, this is not okay. It's not okay to be fascinated by this torture against women, you know, and it does infiltrate, doesn't it? You know, in so many elements. It's like you turn on the TV, still crime series will probably involve a naked young woman who has been murdered in some way, shape or form, you know. And it's just like, and I can remember saying, I will stop watching these things if it just continues to be this same victim.
I did want to say to you about your, because I went to Boscastle about 3 years ago on a writing retreat for Awaken, and I found it so powerful going there. I lit a candle. I don't know that you can still.
Oh, nice.
When you come in.
I saw your pictures,
And and I just remember going around the museum and learning so much there that I didn't know, and it was, and I loved how they sort of really taught me a lot about sort of witchcraft and paganism. And I was working on a scene about stones and things, and then I was speaking to the woman, and she was like, oh no, this is a practice we do. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing that this has been coming through in my rehearsal. And I just found it the most enlightening and educational and also honoring museum of, because it did show you the brutality, but also the magic. And I don't know, I just found the place absolutely wonderful.
For people who don't know, this is the Museum of
Witchcraft and Magic. It's in Boscastle, Cornwall. But when you say to people, I've gone to witchcraft, you know, again, but it's not, but it's about different cultures. It's about how people, you know, they worship, you know, and it's not all about satanic and all that. And, you know, there's like the hair, you know, the statue, the hair, where, you know, obviously the seasonal change and stuff, and just about traditions and like crystals, hagstones, things like that, you know, people's beliefs and stuff. So it's not all, but again, people jump to conclusions. You know, I had a great day when I was talking to them. You know, I was talking to them for ages. I was so thrilled because Simon Costin came out And
Oh, is it?
I'd been thinking before, oh, it'd be great if Simon was there. And when I was talking to Hannah, Fraser was talking to somebody, and Simon walked out, and I thought, oh my goodness, he's there. And he came out to talk to me. And it was like meeting old friends. It was crazy. It was such a great atmosphere.
Well, you know, your whole trip, that you know, that's the amazing thing about technology, isn't it? That you can, and social media, is that you can kind of like be on a journey with somebody. And I was like, Juliana's going to all these places that I really love. And actually it kind of brings me onto the desire for the vision that we have for Awaken as far as a tour is concerned. And it's like, we really do believe to kind of keep working like with this sense of like things will align, the right people will come forward, the right venues will kind of see this and like want to take it. And yeah, I'd love to go to most of the places that you've listed, basically. And actually, it's not a coincidence, because we have been looking at the ley lines, the map of ley lines, and actually they go through most of the places that actually suffered from you know, the biggest witch persecutions.
Well, there was you're talking about ley lines there, sorry, like there was I was at Avebury. That was one of the places I went to on the way back to see. I think it's the biggest stone circle. And I was stood, no, I mean, I'm not a small girl. And I was stood beside in front of this stone. This thing was huge. And that was just, you know, that was just one. But there was a smaller circle. And I just happened to, and I love taking photos of things like, and I just happened to look at the stones. And they were actually in perfect line with the church. And I thought, ley lines. And I just thought, geez, oh, these were, you know, these things were put up, they were, I mean, centuries ago.
And this is the thing, isn't it? Because Cheryl, you posted today about Stonehenge.
Yeah.
And it's like, we know mechanically like how they actually got them there, but we don't know how they knew like to place them in those places. Like how did they,
Well, it's
other than studying the sun. Okay, you studied the sun.
Yeah.
You had to study the sun for quite a long time.
I knew about ley lines. It was done by Freemasonry. I read so much about it when I went to Isle of Wight, and I was on ley lines myself, and I was like, oh, there's a castle and a church. Hang on, and there's the barrels, which is where they buried them, and they all line up in a circle, and the ley lines are charging them up. And the church knew this. The church took basically what happened in our history when I looked into it is that so pagans were working on those lands, and everywhere that's where the church took over and killed out pagans, and that's known in our history. So they knew that, okay, this is where it's really, really powerful, and let's line them up and put them. And if you look down all the ley lines, it's phenomenal how many churches are on either side, all the way up and down the country, all the way through to Scotland. And I just thought, God, I didn't know this much about ley lines. And obviously we know Freemasons built cities and did all the planning, but I just didn't know how deep all our sort of ancestry and history went. And I think that this is part of the uncovering and the apologies and the things that I'm still pushing for, to go, actually, we kind of want to claim our lands back and our powerful places, because the most powerful ley lines are sitting on banks now, or parliaments. It's like, you know all that, but yet you don't honour the pagan history that goes with that.
I don't know if you realised as well, obviously we've just had the summer solstice there, but it's like, just like you're saying about a reconnecting, and the amount of, you know what I mean, there's thousands of folk there as we expect, but there was, during lockdown, there was thousands. It was, in fact, this summer solstice just the other day there was 17,000 people watched it online. You know, I believe that there was, somebody says that they were at Stonehenge years ago, and there's something like 24,000 people at it. Obviously, because of lockdown distance and all that, and still some people been a bit apprehensive out and about, stuff like that. But still, it was so good, because when I went, just as I say, just a matter of weeks ago, they had the, you know, the stones were cordoned off, and you can understand that because they don't want them damaged. But you know, to align these stones perfectly, and I know they've been repositioned, they had to be cemented in place, but you know, the people who put them there, you know, the absolute, you know, I don't know so much to millimetre, but to, you know, the precision that the stones were set out in. You know, the fact that the sun, I think it's, they say that, I think, I can't remember if it's the sol, it's one of the solstices, obviously, but I can't remember. But there's one, and it actually goes straight through the middle of the circle. And you're just like, how did they, you know, the almost a millimetre of absolute perfection? And that was, it was,
which is
really
where I think
inspiring.
going back in history, we've got to recognise that actually the knowings, the teachings were much more advanced and coming onto it our brain.
Then we give them a credit.
So that's primitive.
And this is the thing, isn't it? It's the stripping. It's what you've said quite a lot, Cheryl, as far as how, unfortunately, the executions of women actually occurred, and what they consisted of was, you know, removing them. It's like ripping away the relationship that we had with the earth, that we had with water, that we had with speech and voice, because it was, you know, strangulation, and it was burning, and it was it's completely
just
it always felt like it was targeted, that to take people away from their earth and their elements and not work with that. And I remember listening to a podcast once, and they said something about witches. It's ridiculous to think witches could even control the elements. And I thought, that's very naive to just make that sweeping statement, because earth-based cultures work with the elements. You know, indigenous people would say, of course you work with the rain and the seasons and stuff. So I think there has to be like a careful attitude when you're just wiping out a belief system, because as I spoke with Ellie a lot, there is that double persecution of witches. One, that so many were killed and wiped out, but two, that they don't exist and that knowing wasn't there. And that's why I kind of bring that into my play with Cunning Women, because they were learned women that had, you know, studied with the elements, the herbs, they had their own medicine, and that they got driven out of business by a new scientific ideology. And I think a lot of us are questioning whether that ideology is serving us anymore, and whether we need to go for a more organic, earth-based way of living, because our planet's in trouble.
Yeah, well, look at it as well. You know, if you look at the Pendle witches, was it old? Oh, that's terrible. So sorry for people at Old Chartock. Sorry, people of Pendle, if I get her name wrong.
Yeah,
it's the grandmother who she, you know, there was two women that were kind of in competition with each other, I believe.
I didn't know that about.
Yeah, there was. I'm sure it was Old Chartock she was called. It was it Alison Device's grandmother?
Oh, that rings.
But there was one named the other one because they were in a competition.
Right.
Yeah. So it was like some people, it was, you know, it was just to get somebody out the way, you know, it was, you know, it's awful, but, you know, it's so sad that some women turned against others, you know, for whatever, you know, self-preservation,
and
you know.
That's the most positive thing I can say about the movement at this time. And I can only say from experiencing it myself, when a long time I was writing the paper, does anyone care about this as much as I do? Like, where's the plaques? Where's the name? Where no one's doing it. Oh, I carried on writing my play. And at this moment, and I feel this is how it's really being rectified, the damage that is done, is it feels like there's such a coming together. There's such care and a love for changing this and bringing about this change and honouring all of those names and those people and the ancestry that we lost, and bringing back some of that wisdom, that I think that that's the most amazing thing forward. And I hope to the trajectory of Awaken as it goes in from a reading to full performance is about.
I can't wait. I honestly can't wait.
You're coming on tour,
it's really strange because I'm not really one to, I mean, I actually took the afternoon off work and took it off. I don't know why. I would, you know, I'm not really one to go and sit and watch the script readings or something like that. But when you got in contact, it was just something I was like, right, I've got to be there. And then when I saw it, and I was just like, yes, this is, you know, it was, as I said, just both Jen, who was with me, we both were just like, yes, this is it. And when I finished, when I came away and I said, right onto the group, I says, oh, you would have loved it. It was so apt. It was just, I was meant to go. I know I was meant to go.
That's why we invited you twice.
Yeah, I know. It was just, I was so glad that I got to see it. And I just, when you were talking after, as we say, when we were all talking in the group after kind of thing, even the electricity, the energy in the room, that, the passion, we were all sitting there with lumps in our throats and then hearing their names and just, this needs to be,
it was incredible, because I mean, for so long working on it, and obviously it's been like through so many, like it's such a journey, but certainly I think that I think it was on the Saturday when we were filming it, that actually Cheryl, like, I know that you felt the weight of kind of the responsibility that you felt to kind of like actually, upon you to deliver this, and then we mentioned this in our kind of chat with Laura as well, director Laura Ballard, and in terms of the fact that actually the cast turned around and said it's a shared responsibility. We're all here to support one another. And it was only actually through, I think it was like halfway through maybe, but I was in the wings and suddenly, like, I swear, I wasn't there. There was something else happening. And I think, simply putting it, it was the fact that we were talking about real women. We were talking about people that this actually happened to. And I think the reality of that really went through me. And it was incredibly powerful. And it wasn't overwhelming, because that's what we do. I mean, we love
it's overwhelming for us.
But I think that reading changed me, because before I'd done a reading to, and it wasn't the same play and all of that, but I'd done it to people that were maybe more in theatre, or maybe theatre goers. So it was another play to them. But actually having you and Eva and Mary and people that have really engaged with the cause, and having the feedback that you guys accept it and was like, I love this. Then that's all that mattered. It was like, oh my God, my job is done, because I had spent the whole of COVID thinking about who this play was for. Instead, I was thinking about a theatre piece before, but I spent 2 years going, this is for people. This is for people that care about this as much as I do. This is for people in the witch community, spiritual people, and people that care about the witch cause. This is for all of us. And that reading was like, Laura said, our director, she was like, yeah, if you'd have seen your community, they got it as much as you do. It went as deep in all of us. And then it made me feel like all those 5 years was worth it, because it felt, because if you're speaking to the people that you want to, nothing else matters. And I'll take that with me and hold that in my heart as a very precious moment when it changed what I was doing all for. And I'm so grateful.
Well, as I said to you, to me it was quite life-changing, because their names are there, and it just makes you think what we're doing the right thing. This is, and just to hear it kind of see it amplified in such a, Mary came through from the borders, and and
Ema travelled quite far as well.
Yeah, that's right. Just to see us all kind of connecting, and like when the play'd finished and we'd kind of had a bit of break, and then we come back and we were talking, I was bumping into people in the hall, and they were going, it was just like sheer emotion. It was just like, wow, And as I says to you, Cheryl, at the time, and looking back now as well, Ellie, when I was looking at you the other night, when you were your part as the judge, it was just like you were like different people. You were totally in the moment. You were totally, you could hear the passion, and you were just, and then it was like kind of when it all came out, it was tears. It was just like, this is tremendous. This is so good. This is yes, you know, it was just like, yeah.
And it's been such an honor, like working on this project and I, you know, and it's, I don't think that there's an end to it. You know,
No.
I mean, it's like a journey, isn't it? It's not a project. It's
Yeah.
to be on this journey, because it's ever changing, and it's really, but it is an honor to be meeting people like yourselves and just be having these conversations. And I think it is like, you know, this sense of like actually sharing. It's like any like big event, and, you know, like the importance of, I don't know, it's just coming out to me, but, you know, going to a wedding, it's about witnessing, it's about gathering together as human beings in a community and witnessing love. And this in theatre is it's a shared experience. And I think to be able to kind of be in a room and communicate the levels, the kind of the deep levels that this goes to, and feel that it's being communicated, and, you know, is really powerful.
I've said it since I saw your play, because, you know, I just wish that we could have taken some of them from back then to now, to let them see that their names are still alive, their names are still, you know, people know they weren't guilty, they weren't wrong, they weren't, you know, they weren't bad people. You know, they were just, it was just awful. But I would love to, you know, things like, you know, that people, you know, that practice, you know, like ourselves, I don't think that, but to an extent, you know, you just appreciate the moon. You always get me out at night looking at the stars and the moon and stuff. I know, Ellie, I'm having to stop myself here. You know, you're just like, if they knew how, I've got goosebumps, if they knew
so
how
I'm
much
gonna have to speak for the witches
relevant
right now, because I'm going to have to speak for the witches, because as a medium myself that speaks to dead spirits, they are all with us. Cheers. They've been on this journey. They are so proud of us all. They cheered when the church apologized. They know the work that you're doing, and they were in the room with us all when when we were performing this play. I felt them, and I was like, oh, they were like, thank you. So I really feel that they
oh, definitely. I just wish we could let them know that what they were accused of, you know, obviously the devil and the shape-shifting and stuff like that, you know, but you know, everything else, it's like, we do that, that's a part of life now, you know. It's, if they could see what happened then and what happened now, that, you know, they are being appreciated, they are being respected, they're, as I say, their names that have, you know, we're wanting to get them. And this is what Ros with the monument, as I say, Steve, this isn't a short-term thing. This is we want to keep this, we want to build this for the next generation, so that they remember, so the names are continued on, so that, you know, the wrongs are still acknowledged. You know, it was their belief back then, but, you know, not anymore, kind of thing. Cheryl, you look quite emotional.
I just love you and love the work that you do. I'm just,
you know,
so
we're
happy that we're connected.
We're going to look after the monument. We're going to, you know, we're going to leave. It's going to be there. We're not talking a small hidden in a wood thing. You know, we're, you know, as Sheila would compare it to the Kelpies. You know, it's like.
And have you on that subject, and you know, just because have you received any kind of like kickback? Have you received any kind of criticism? You know, just for interest, because it's
really just, you know, the why now. But when you tell them why, they go, all right. As I say, and they end up, they're the ones that actually end up researching it. You can, you know, there are going to be people who are, they're going to be, you know, adamant that, you know, oh, this is a waste of, you know, but it's like, we're not asked, you know, we're only telling you what happened in history. You know, you can't,
exactly.
You know, there's no point trying to kid on it didn't happen, because we know it did.
And I think that's why I'm so touched by it, because, you know, my belief system is that we don't only live once, and I know I was butchered as a witch many times, not just once. So even just hearing you say how much you care about getting these named and righted, you know, even if it's not your belief, it means
it is.
To me, because I didn't know whether anyone would care so much, and it's just, it's a beautiful thing to witness, and I'm so grateful for everyone that's doing the hard work. And I kind of come full circle with how I met you, and because like she's a woman just like me that cares about it just as much as I do. And it just made me feel safe and happy and supported. And
well, we had the book club reading with Claire Askew, who one of her descendant was actually Anne Askew, who was I believe she was a writer. She was the first woman in England to ask for a divorce. She was burnt at the stake. And at the reading, and Claire actually got really emotional as well. She says, I've read this loads of times and I've never felt this, I think, because you could feel that connection, that acknowledgement, with the respect thing. She says it is fantastic to think that Anne's name has still been kept alive. And we says, well, we'll certainly be thinking about her and we'll be talking about her, and just that name. And I've got to just say before we finish her, I want to actually get down to Inverkip with flowers. And I did say, I feel I'm tearing up here myself. When the church apologised, I says, Mary, they done it, you got it. And I want to get down with flowers, and I want to say, and I'm filling up here, not just to Mary, to the other accused. You got it.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful thing. Just, as the monument in Forfar says, they were just folk.
Yeah.
They were just folk. And over us,
it's amazing, isn't it?
They were just
I thought the ending of the play was hard to get through, but now you're doing it to me on a Zoom call.
Trying to let I think I'd have been trying again. It's just again with us, you can see it here. Just the passion, just the, acknowledgement of, who I bet you if you would have spoken to, if somehow magically you could go back, to the 1600s, if you'd have said to them, do you know your name's going to be spoken in 200 years? They would have thought you were crazy. They would have been accusing you for being, but I bet they never thought in a million years that they probably thought that they died with the attachment of shame and the, but know that there would be people hundreds of years fighting for them. And that to me that's what it's all about.
And it keeps you going, doesn't it?
Oh, it doesn't have. You've only got to, I know. I'm emotional wreck here. You've only got to, as you say, it's like when, for me, it was when, and as much as we get the names and stuff, we'll hear about this person or that person. When you hear the name, it was a person, it was a soul, it was a, it was a heart and a pulse and and the that's what makes it. That's when it, it hits you. Wow, it's not just a collation of these people. It was like Mary, like Janet, like Jonah. Obviously Janet, Jonah's a variation. It's like I guess it's like this.
Sarah Spindler.
It was that.
It's Sarah Spindler.
Sarah, exactly.
She's been
definitely. But
just amazing, just so well done on the work that you're doing and continue to do to all of you. Remembering the accused, which is Scotland.
Because everybody brings their own wee bit to it, and like yourselves,
We salute you all. We honour you all.
Thank you.
And here's to continuing to collaborate in whatever form that's going to take.
Yes, absolutely. We'll see you at the production.
The full production. We'll see.
Yay!
We'll be there with all the spirits of them witches.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's going to be some crowd that you'll be performing. No pressure.
There's the women that are working with the
some audience.
That's the dream.
Yep, absolutely. All the best, and if there's anything we can do, if there's any way we can help, we're only we're at the other side of the screen, the other side of the keyboard. So no, thank you. Got to thank you. So everybody that was involved, all the actors were absolutely sensational.
Yeah.
They all played, you know, they actually, you could see it wasn't just a role.
Yeah, they gave it that, or we spoke about that before. They gave it, yeah, it was a
Aye.
coming together of a very supportive, creative magic.
Yes. Aye. It was absolutely magical. It
Yeah.
was yeah.
Yeah, we had an amazing team, like yeah. So yeah, onwards.
Yes.
See what's
And I've
next.
just got to thank you for inviting me, because it was huge. You know, it was, for me, it was a very, very personal experience. You know, it was personal for us all. But I'm so glad that you invited me. Thank
pleasure.
you. Aye. Forever grateful.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.